Dr. Mark Ahlers. Dr. Wayne Dyer says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Since having lunch with a fellow Toastmaster, Mark Ahlers has changed the way he looks at that fellow Toastmaster and the way he looks at himself. This morning, Mark recalls that transformation as he presents his speech titled, Remembering Tim. Please welcome distinguished Toastmaster Mark Ahlers.
All right.
Good job.
The two words that come to mind when I think of Tim Rickey are self-promotion. Tim certainly wasn't bashful about promoting himself. When Tim announced he had successfully coached numerous speech contestants, including one who made it all the way to the World Championships, I was suspicious. You see, I had seen Tim present quite a few speeches and evaluations. They were all okay, but I rarely saw him walk off with a trophy. And the person most impressed with Tim's Toastmaster talents seemed to be, well, Tim. But after I failed miserably with my first attempt to mentor a new member, I ignored my suspicions and reached out to Tim for help. Tim immediately emailed me copies of several of his mentee speeches. Each speech had Tim's succinct comments and suggested changes highlighted in red. I was impressed, so much so that I adopted Tim's red line technique, and it served me remarkably well. In fact, about a year later, after one of our Friday morning meetings, I was asked to mentor a new member who was giving her icebreaker the next Friday. Using Tim's red line technique, I was confident I could help this new member, so I accepted the assignment. But when I got back to the office, an issue came up that was going to monopolize my time for the next week. So I headed to Spats at lunch to recruit someone to assume my duties. When I asked Tim, he said, well, I'm pretty busy. Check with the other guys, and if no one can help, let me know. I said, okay, but just so you know, you'd be mentoring that attractive French gal who's starting a French cooking school. Who knows, she might also need your business consulting services. Well, without hesitating, Tim said, yes. I mean, I'll do it. I don't know if Tim ever signed Frenchie up for his consulting services, but I do know Frenchie signed Tim up to be her first student. Not only that, she convinced Tim to recruit a half dozen friends to be part of that first cooking class. All male friends, I understand. In addition to Tim's coaching and mentoring skills, I was impressed to hear how Tim had started a home cleaning business called Tidy Maids, built it into a successful company, and then sold Tidy Maids for a tidy profit. I was also impressed to hear that Tim was named Entrepreneur of the Year and Florida Business Person of the Year. But after hearing Tim recite these accomplishments year after year, something didn't make sense to me. Why does a guy who was Entrepreneur of the Year and Florida Business Person of the Year seem to be living paycheck to paycheck? Fortunately, I got an answer to my question when I sat next to Tim a couple weeks before he passed. It seems that most of the tidy profit from Tidy Maids was consumed by a jewelry store venture that didn't pan out, which made me wonder, why didn't Tim just start another business, build it up, and sell it for another pile of money? Before I had a chance to ask, Tim began explaining how he had helped one of his consulting clients increase her bottom line by tens of thousands of dollars by making a couple of simple suggestions. As Tim spoke, his face lit up, and I could feel the excitement and satisfaction that Tim received from helping his client. It was then I realized I was mistaken about Tim. You see, I had been measuring Tim's success in financial terms, while Tim was measuring his success by the satisfaction he received from helping others. It was then I began to understand why Tim so tirelessly promoted Winter Park Toastmasters. It must have been extremely rewarding for Tim to see Carson, Carmelo, and dozens of his other recruits transform themselves into polished speakers. It was then that I also began to question whether the financial rewards that I have so diligently pursued during my career have been worth the effort. Coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, a leaflet appeared on my front door a few days later that contained the following question that still reverberates in my mind. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Fellow Toastmasters and guests, it's been said that the richest man is not he who has the most, but he who needs the least. I believe Tim Rickey was an incredibly rich man, not because of his material possessions, but because of the incredible satisfaction he accumulated from helping others. And I'm eternally grateful to have known him. Mr. Toastmaster.